Play. Thank you for attending the session today. We are honored that you would take your time today to spend with us. We pray that you get out of this session everything you had hoped for and more. So after losing over 90 pounds and overcoming a life-threatening illness, the founder of Trailblazer Health Co, Matt Jones, proves transformation is possible. Blending behavioral psychology, practical health tactics, and spiritual wisdom, this session will guide you to align mind, body, and spirit for the life you were meant to live. Better health isn't a dream, it is a decision. Please help me welcome Matt Jones. Jacqueline, if you want, I had an intro video for you if you want to hear it, but I don't know if you want to just keep going or you want to do it. All right. So cool. I didn't, yeah, the technology wasn't working right, so I apologize, but keep going. It's awesome. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Dr. B. We'll just get it kicked off, and thanks everyone for joining. Let me share my screen. Uh, all right, can you see my screen okay?
Yes, can see your screen. It says life by design, build a lifestyle your habits can thrive.
Amazing. Well, yeah, thank you everyone for joining me. So as I mentioned, life by design is really just going to be how our habits are really set up to either thrive or be limited by the current lifestyle that we are functioning within. So just want to practically dive into how we can pull apart each of those habits that we feel like we should do, how those are going to be aligned or not aligned with the lifestyle that we want to live, and what to do about that in order to take those steps down the path that we were created to live on. So today's session, I just want to be very interactive. So if anyone has any habits that they're currently working on, I would love to just hear more about those. And then really just dive into that today. If there's anything that people would like to work on while we're in the session here together. So as I just open things up, just want to open the floor to the audience or anyone watching this. What has got your habits held up? So, how many of you know exactly what you think you should be doing, what you want ahead in your life, and you even think you know exactly what the steps are to get to that next level? But for some reason, something always seems to get in the way. For some reason, you just still end up not following through, not fully seeing it to light, and you end up more disappointed and kind of throwing your hands in the air and saying, I'll try again next time. So that's not usually a discipline problem. That is most oftentimes a design problem. So we're just going to talk a little bit more about exactly what that means here today, and how you can design that lifestyle in order to really see those habits thrive throughout the rest of the journey here. So just want to open it up and take a minute for anyone listening to think of what got you here today. What got you to join a conference that's about habits? What's the one thing that you were working on that you've been trying to build or feel like you should be building? And if anyone wants to come off mute and share something, then that would be appreciated. The next thing, Dr. B, you got something?
I can say, yeah, I'll just go ahead and say that, it's like, why think of one habit that you've been trying to build or feel like you should be building. And mine is just like the discipline in my mornings, like a habit that I want to make sure that every day that I'm creating, a habit that makes my life more productive. And so this year I started on January 1st of actually putting my devotion live. That way I make sure that I get up every day at 6:30 and I do it so that I can prepare my life and set my intention for today. And that's, something that, for years, it's been not super consistent. I'll get up for, 30 to 45 days and I'll do it and then I won't, and then I'll miss 10 days or something like that. But it's been really nice the last 80 days to be able to be very consistent at it.
Yeah, thanks for chiming in. So I'd say the next question, and again, if you want to, keep putting it out there, would just be why do we want those habits that we're working on? And then just giving people a moment to reflect on that.
Tanya had said in the chat that she wants to do stuff around time management. And, I guess, why we all have the same 24 hours in the day, so.
That's great. And then I would say to follow up on that, then I ask people, now, why do they really want it? And what I want to unpack here is really going to open up this entire discussion. And that's going to be, are we doing habits because we feel like we should? Or is that habit truly aligned with the mission, the vision, the calling on our lives and what we were specifically created for? So a lot of times this is going to really represent itself as a habit that's built more on pressure or purpose, right? On obligation or on a calling. And those habits, they're built on pressure, are not always the ones that are best set up to succeed. So again, with time management or a morning routine and sharing a devotional, and really like a lot of these things will be good within, or we could label them as good within a vacuum, but then that's going to be something that is it aligned with us in a way that we can do it day in and day out, and it's not this big force. Again, it's not like a pressure on us, or is that going to be something that is very aligned with who we think we are, who we believe ourselves to be, and who ultimately that we were created to be in our and that identity that we're working towards. And there's going to be a lot of congruency and just smoothness there, so that when people step into these habits, they're really going to be able to feel that positive momentum and not as much resistance to that those things. And some of that is alignment, some of that is practicality, and we'll get into that a little bit on the next slide. So ultimately, like I said, the shift is going from something that we should do, because there's a lot of should do's out there, and what are we built to do? What is that one thing that you were put on this earth to do? Now, what are those habits that are going to be the steps that you take to get to that end state, that thing you were created ultimately to be? And that's the kind of alignment that we're looking to find in our habits here. Habits built on pressure, like I mentioned, don't last. Habits built on purpose don't require constant motivation to sustain. Really quickly, as a backdrop to that, just to explain how habits work. First of all, if anyone hasn't read the book Atomic Habits, definitely recommend going to read that. I believe that's going to be like a foundational baseline for anyone wanting to really level up in this entire topic of habits and how to apply those things. And it's going to run through this 4-stage loop that our brains use to constantly conserve energy. Most things are done unconsciously, right, without us thinking about it, because we have to do, thousands of different processes, if not millions, throughout every single day. So our brain is going to try to save energy whenever it can, wherever it can, and it's going to automate the things that we do regularly through this psychological mechanism here. So it's going to be the first step is going to be a cue. And then the concept around that is going to be making it obvious or making it less obvious to make that cue the thing that we notice in order to think of doing a habit or trying to avoid doing a certain habit. is going to be cue. That's going to be the thing that we notice. The second one's going to be the craving. That's going to be where dopamine kind of gets involved. The urge within our bodies to actually go do the thing. Is it attractive, right? Or is it unappealing? Those are going to be the things that either make our body want to do it or avoid it. And then going into the third stage is going to be the response cycle. So that's going to be essentially like the action step of doing the thing that we are setting out to do. And that's going to be determined most times by the level of friction that we encounter. Is it easy or is it hard to do the thing that we're talking about doing? And then that's going to go back into the fourth stage of the cycle, which would be the reward cycle. That's also where dopamine is going to be involved. And that's going to either make it satisfying or dissatisfying, aka like a punishment. And that would be a habit we would want to avoid. Or if it's very satisfying, then we would want to do that again. And we get that release of dopamine, which is the chemical in our brain that kind of teaches us to do more of a thing and to seek out certain behaviors. So that's how everything works within our brain when it comes to these habits. And that's going to be the more practical side of what I'd mentioned in the first slide. But what most people don't usually grasp when they set out to do a certain set of habits, they latch on to these common sayings like, it only takes 21 days to start a habit, and you just have to like do this thing consistently, and then you got it no matter what it is. But they miss the part where our lifestyle is going to determine the cues and how obvious those things are and the level of friction and how easy they are to attain. So something like a blanket rule that says like, oh, you just gotta like fit this thing in 21 times and then you're good and you have this new habit is not even necessarily true because there's a couple pieces of data that would go in addition to that to determine how true that is. First of all, is the reward. If the reward is very emotional and it is very exciting, that's going to send a stronger signal to your mind. So it might take less than like 21 days to make a habit happen. If the reward is very weak or not there, then you could do it 21 times, but your brain is not really going to get the hint of like, this is something that we like to do, and we're going to keep doing that. And then going back to the lifestyle, like I mentioned, setting up a lifestyle that's conducive to making these things happen, making them easy to happen, or more difficult if it's a habit you're trying to do less of. Um, so you're not really even fighting your habits, you're fighting your current lifestyle. So that would be what leads into the next thing, which is why most people fail. So these are just four of the most common reasons that people run into issues when it comes to these habits and potentially any hurdles that they're running into. So the first one is people trying to add habits to a full life. Dr. B, I know you and I talked about this during a podcast we did, but people try to add habits into an already full lifestyle. And this is funny because I know this kind of relates back to scripture, in my opinion, where the word says we can't serve two masters, right? So what is the purpose and the what is our habits aligned to, and what are we serving by doing those habits? And then that's going to determine which direction we go in, right? Is this built on pressure? Is this built on our purpose? And if our lifestyle is currently filled up with other things and we don't have room, we don't have that margin or that space to do the habits that are going to be aligned with our purpose, well, then we can look at that truth that we just mentioned, and we kind of figure out what the master is we're serving, right? So creating margin for those habits that are going to help us succeed and take steps in that direction that we're ultimately called to do. You don't need more discipline, right? You just need more space for these things to breathe and to survive and thrive in. The second reason most people fail is they rely on motivation instead of design. A lot of this is very practical and intentional work. Most people think if I want to go to the gym, if I want to write or share a devotional every day, if I want to manage my time better, then I just need to try harder. And ultimately, if they fail, they end up in this misconception that like, oh, there's something wrong with me. I just don't have the right motivation. I'm not as disciplined or have as much willpower as the next guy or the next girl that was actually able to make this happen. So that's not even the case because the people that succeed are usually just the ones that have a framework around it that was designed well so that the habit doesn't only work when they feel good. Because if the habit only works when you feel like it, that's a habit in a system that's already broken. And that's a systemization issue that we can fix for. And then motivation becomes easier, if not sometimes irrelevant, because the people that build the right systems, they do the thing regardless of how they feel. The third step is their environment working against them. So again, this is just how your current reality is set up to either, limit or support the results you're going to get. This is going to be, your physical environment. What are the things that are around your spaces at home or at work, right? If someone's going to manage their time, is it easy to manage their time in the space around them? Do they have access to calendars or other tools that help them keep track of what their obligations are throughout the day? Recording a video every morning. It's going to be really difficult or high friction to do that if, a lot of your technology isn't set up and ready to go in the morning, because then you all of a sudden you have five habits you have to do instead of just one, by getting everything set up and hitting record. And this also applies to your social environment and the relationships you have. Are you surrounded by people that want to see you doing the thing that we're talking about doing? And if you are, then that's going to be very helpful. And if you are not, then again, you are fighting uphill and upstream to make these things happen. And then the last key thing that keeps people from succeeding is their identity isn't caught up to the habits and the lifestyle that they're trying to build. Um, Someone is trying to do what they should do, what another person might do, without becoming that person themselves. This is where, sometimes I feel like the Lord is speaking to us and saying, why are we trying to do these things that we don't even believe that we can do, right? Someone somewhere once upon a time told us we should do this thing if we're going to be successful, if we're going to be, a good person, if we're going to be living on calling or our purpose, that we need to do these certain steps of actions. But that isn't, that really isn't it. We have to first believe that we can do the thing that we set out to do. We are worthy of that. We are qualified to do that. And we are meant to do that. And then we can actually do it in reality. Otherwise, we're fighting a battle against ourselves. And we will somehow self-sabotage whatever habit, seemingly easy that it could be. What to do differently. Okay, so this is going to be all the things that would be the antithesis of what we just talked about. So I kind of broke it down into just four core pillars here. So the first one is aligning, kind of like I alluded to in the beginning. Does this habit actually matter to your life and calling that you're trying to build? And really sitting with that. As I've personally tried to focus more on this, I've actually had to limit a lot of seemingly good, wise, helpful information, because everyone has advice. Everyone's going to be able to tell us what we should do. And if you want to build a business, you should build it in exactly this way. Or if you want to get fit and healthy, you just need to do this diet plan or this workout plan, all these different things. But there's so many should do's that we aren't going to understand exactly what our calling is and what our design is if we're constantly comparing it to someone else's. there's going to be too much noise. So my advice would be actually start tuning out a lot of this so-called helpful advice, the self-help stuff, and focus on the stuff that is just truly aligned with you, that when you see it, it just speaks to your soul, and then apply those things. And then don't be afraid to sit in a silent room and say, like, okay, what do I know that I need to do in my core without everyone telling me what I should do? And then the second one is then auditing your reality. Okay. Very practically lay out everything you do in a given day on a schedule and say, like, okay, here's the new thing that I'm trying to do. I already have a schedule that's full. Something needs to come out. Where is that space going to be for this new thing to come in? And where does that realistically fit? Going to the gym, in my experience, has been absolutely one of these things. My gym consistency used to be at its peak when I was having a field sales job where I was like going out into the market every day, and then I was driving home, and I would hit the gym after my shift on my way home. And that fit very easily into my schedule. I drove right by the gym, and I almost consciously had to choose to like not go if that were the thing, because it's like I'm practically driving through the parking lot. But then when I went through the career change to working mostly from home, that became very difficult because I wasn't driving by the gym anymore. So it didn't realistically fit into the flow of my day. And then I had to design things differently after that. So I hope that example helps people. Adjusting the environment to make things easier or sometimes more difficult if it's a habit that we're trying to restructure. So this could be examples of one of the atomic habits examples is like if you want to go on a run, set out your running shoes. So they're the first things that you see when you get up the next morning. And that would be an example of like your physical environment, or avoiding a bad habit, right? If someone is trying to maybe cut down on something like soda or alcohol or something like that, go put that stuff out in the garage, in the closet, behind a lock and key or something, or just don't keep in the house. So it's like if you want it, you actually have to go to the store to go get it, and it's not just so easy to access all the time. So that's again not relying on motivation or discipline. That's just like it's going to be a real pain in the butt to even do the thing. And then social environment, that would apply to that as well. Having conversations with your partner or whoever you surround yourself with, like, hey, like this is important to me. How can you support me in doing this? How can we make an environment that is conducive to me, again, doing the thing that is important to me? And then like community, getting into communities that already do the thing that is important to you, right? For Dr. B, like if he's trying to do a devotional every morning, surrounding himself with people that are very intent on doing devotionals and like seeking the word, right? That's going to help be a motivating thing for him to be surrounded by. And then integration would be our anchor, attaching it to something that already exists. So that's going to be something where, like, if I want to do a habit that maybe I'm not super excited to do, right? Maybe for me, it could be similar to what Dr. B opened with. And maybe if I want to go, do an Instagram live video, and most of the time, like social media is not the most um, exciting part, of doing a coaching position or something like that. So if it's something that I'm like, oh man, like I need to do that. So I can do that around something that I'm excited about. So let's say I want to watch, my favorite TV show in the evening or something. And then I'll do it right before I do the TV show, something like that. So it's something that already exists. I already like to do it. Now, how can I stack in the thing that I need to do around the thing that I want to do? And that's going to be more set up for success. So the exercise that I would just wrap up with everyone here is what is the one habit that we talked about doing? So if anyone wants to chime in, put something in the chat. Uh, just mentioning what that habit is, and then figuring out very practically where does it go in your day, what's currently in the way of that thing, and what is one small change that we could make that easier about. With that, what about AI? So, again, the entire theme of this conference is how to use AI to make these things more helpful. So, again, the way that I like to approach these things is making sure that we're aligned before we go to AI, because AI can be an incredibly powerful tool once your life is aligned. It's not there to replace discipline, but to support it. So AI becomes extremely practical with structuring routines, removing decision fatigue, creating reminders in those systems, and potentially like reflection patterns, stuff like that. A lot of these frameworks that I keep mentioning. So it can help optimize your habits, but it can't build them for you. So finding that alignment, doing the thinking of like who I am as a person, what am I working towards? What am I meant for? What are the steps that are going to get me there? And then taking that information into this, super power tool that is AI to maximize that and make it most efficient to take back into our life, which we then apply, right? So I would say it's more of a step in the middle, rather than the first step. So I hope a lot of this information was, helpful for people to frame how to approach AI. I'd love to help build out some prompts or anything like that for people that would enjoy that. And then the path ahead. So just a reminder, if nothing changes, then nothing changes. Uh, and if anyone wants to chime in, I was just asked like, what was the most helpful thing from this, and what is one thing you plan to implement this week?
I will try to jump in as I'm listening and doing a whole bunch of other stuff at the same time. But what I think of, I think the most, I guess, helpful thing is just realizing that some of those things that we, I guess, are not cognizant of the time, like if nothing changes, nothing changes. Like, and uh, as I think of that, is always trying to be a change agent, or always trying to grow, and always trying to make my habits equal where I want to go. And I think just being reminded that not getting stuck back in, where I just say, okay, life, it is what it is, or life is what it is. And so just what you were talking about that reminded me of, okay, this is why it's so important to continue to move forward. I don't know if that's helpful. And now, what was the second part of your question? It was,
What's one thing that you could implement this week to, make your habits more successful moving forward?
yeah, to me, I guess is just the fact to putting them down, like knowing what I'm trying to build, and then reminding myself the day before that I got to do it. Right?
Yeah.
What you were talking earlier is like, okay, we just don't, we think about them, but then we don't implement them.
Mm.
And so one of the things that, more than thinking about it, for me, I got to write it down. I have to maybe put it in a reminder on my phone. I have to, maybe even schedule it, because life just takes over with reacting instead of being proactive. And so, that's one of the things that I'm trying to make sure. And some of the things that you just talked about, that just, it pretty much, you just made me start thinking of, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
Mm.
So I don't know if Robert or Tanya, you guys have anything to say, or you want to put in the trap. Tanya said great point. So I don't know if you want to add something, Tanya, or you want to, we'll just kind of look at the chat. We got probably another minute left to go.
Yeah, thanks for sharing.
All right.
Right on time. Well, so yeah, just leaving this up here for anybody that might want to connect, discuss more. I'm always happy to again just like dive deeper into this, and that's what I hope to do. Just helping coach people through their lifestyle and seeing where these things are aligned or misaligned and what are the next steps to do for that. So if anybody clicked with this, come find me. Happy to chat a little more. And then, as always, thanks to Dr. B for the community you're creating.
Thank you.